Yo, what's going on? Welcome to another edition of It's Needed, the podcast where we discuss real issues involving law enforcement in the community. It's your boy Ryan Tillman, founder of Breaking Barriers United, and I'm joined today by my light-skinned wonder, Mr. Oh No, it's the Popo. What up, AJ?
Not much, brother. What's up with you?
Oh, I'm chilling, bro. It's weird, man. We actually doing this podcast at a different time. It's the first time we actually did it during the daytime, so I'm looking at my window and it's still light outside.
I know. I was just thinking that. It's a weird feeling, but it feels good. It's earlier for me because what they don't know is y'all normally have me up past my bedtime. I'm tired, but I'm ready to go today.
AJ put his little thing over his eyes and go to sleep with the hearts on it.
Yep. Big hearts, little hearts, sideways, all of that.
And we actually missing some football. I think the Chargers are getting blasted if they didn't. Is it over yet?
Oh, they are getting destroyed.
I know, bro.
Hey, that's unfair. Hey, anyone going against Brady, that's unfair.
But see, here's the crazy part, bro. This is, I don't want to get off topic, but here's the crazy thing, bro. Is like the Patriots weren't even that good this year, but but they still made the playoffs and they balled out in the playoffs. And for them, it's like. For them, it's like, you know, you get to the playoffs and it's like, oh, yeah, we here again. Where like the Chargers are like, hey, we here. Like, we doing it this year.
We need this. Hey, Brady's like, all right, get another one. I mean, you got Brady and Gronk. Come on now.
And they doing it like without even trying. Like, and you know what's funny? I was listening to Secret to Success podcast and they were just talking about how when you just great, like you've already acted like you've already been there before. So it's nothing new to you.
Yep. Normal day, stroll in the park.
You know what
Let's
I mean?
Get it done.
And that's actually an approach that we should take to life in a sense. You know what I mean? Like you just gotta strive to be great every single day instead of just, you know, acting like you've never been there before.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
But my poor Chargers, I mean, I'm not even a Charger fan, but I'm an LA guy and those fools are getting blasted 41-22 right now. That's crazy. Who we got? Who's playing tonight? Philadelphia and New Orleans. Who you got on that one?
I gotta go Philly. I gotta go Philly. I mean, you just have to. They're the closest.
I can't count my boy Drew Brees out. I can't count my boy Drew out. He be balling.
Yeah.
So hey, as we move forward, I want to give a special shout out again to Sean Larkin. He was on our last episode of the podcast. And that was a great episode. Every single episode we do is great, and we get nothing but good feedback, good comments, and everything like that. So thanks again, Sean, if you're out there listening. I do want to move into more of a somber note right now, and we've done this before. So within the last couple of days, we've actually lost a few officers. Officer Corona, she actually was an officer here in California, Northern California. And get this is crazy. So she responds to a traffic collision. And I hate to say a regular old traffic collision, but this is kind of goes back to what we've said in the past, that there is no average traffic stop. There is nothing we do in this job is average. And so she goes to respond to this traffic collision where she's trying to help people out. Mm-hmm. And as she's helping people out, somebody rides up on a bike, just unrelated, just not even involved in a traffic collision or anything, and takes a gun out and shoots her. And obviously she doesn't even realize what's going on. And then the article I read says he continues to shoot her as she falls to the ground. Then the guy started shooting at innocent bystanders and then fled to a home, put on body armor, came back out. Oh. Yeah, he put on body armor, came back out. I don't know if he let some more rounds off or anything like that, but then he went back inside the house and then killed himself.
Golly, yeah, I didn't hear about that. I did hear that he reloaded and started shooting at the firefighters who responded to the scene as well.
Oh my goodness! And I think the article was saying she was only 3 weeks off of training. So
yeah, she was fresh, 22 years old.
So you have this young officer, aspiring to become this police officer. She becomes a police officer, makes her family and everybody proud, and she gets killed. 3 weeks off. And then that brings me to another point. I'll get into it in a second, but I want to also acknowledge Officer Payne. She was actually, again, fresh out of the academy. I want to say she was 22 as well, a rookie. And she was killed outside of a home while she wasn't on duty yet, but I guess she was in her uniform. So they're still doing an investigation on that. And then overnight, this last night, Sergeant Carter was killed just doing an occupied vehicle check of some suspicious people. And one of them opened fire and killed him and then injured his partner. So the thing I wanted to talk about briefly on that is it amazes me that, we still get comments and this will never go away. And we talked about this when we were on with Sean last week, is that people say that we signed up for this job or we signed up for this. And the crazy part about it is when they say that, it makes it seem like it lessens their death. And somebody actually commented last week on one of my posts, and I understand what he was saying. He was saying that I understand what he was saying to an extent. Basically, what he said was, he sees all these police officer social media accounts, and we're all posting pictures of these fallen officers and stuff. But when a citizen is killed at the hands of police officers that was unlawful, we don't do anything, or we don't acknowledge that. And I can honestly say that we've done our job, you and I, AJ, acknowledging the good with the bad. And so I don't want to say that everybody does that, but at the same time, one of the additional things that he said was, he doesn't believe that the job we do is heroic because we signed up. It's only heroic if you die saving somebody. And what baffles me is like, okay, and I had a response for him, and I told him that no, I disagree with him on that. I think that this job is heroic. The mere fact that we miss birthdays, holidays, my kids practice, all types of things, and then my son asks me every single day, "Daddy, are you going to come home tonight?" The odds of us going to work sometimes and getting killed on a traffic collision where you're not even doing anything related to shooting or anything like that, and you get killed,
right?
That's an act of heroism to me. And whether or not you're looking for it or you're not, that's an act of heroism. And so it just baffles me when people say we signed up for it. It's not like I went to go fill out that job application, and on that application it says, okay, go ahead and put your name, first name, last name. Okay, hey, put your date of birth. Okay, underneath that, what you're doing is you're acknowledging that on January 13th, 2019, when you respond to a traffic collision, you're actually going to be killed by somebody that rolls up and shoots you in the head. So make sure you sign on the dotted line, because I want you to acknowledge that that's what's going to happen on the 19th of January.
Exactly. And in my opinion, it's not what happens that makes you heroic. It's what could happen, right? Like, we have people who sign up for the armed forces, active duty, and are over there fighting wars. Like, those men and women are heroes because of what they are risking and what could happen. The same thing with the men and women in blue here in the United States, right? Like, if I don't die during my tour, which, Lord willing, that doesn't make me not a hero, right? Like I signed up for a very dangerous job. You are correct, but we signed up for the right reasons, and that alone makes police officers, in my opinion, heroes.
Exactly. And the person that left that comment, I respect him because I respect the fact that he can be honest and tell me that. And he told me straight up, he said, "Hey man, I'm not a fan of police officers by any means." He was like, "I'm a fan of what you guys are doing because I do really think you guys are trying to make change." So I respect the fact that he can be honest, because there's a lot of people that try to sugarcoat things nowadays. So the mere fact that he can be honest and tell me that, I understand. But that's just another example that we can agree to disagree on things. And like you said, man, I do think that, when somebody has to call us to get involved in their situation to help them out, that's an act of heroism, no matter how you paint that picture. So,
when people are running one way, we're running the opposite way. We're running towards the danger. We're running towards the gunfire, towards the person with the knife, towards the explosives, towards everything else to make sure everyone else is safe. And, to me, that's a hero. Someone commented on one of my videos, actually, and they said, stop talking about this job like it's super dangerous. It's not even the top 10 most dangerous jobs in the United States. And I'm like, that's not possible. So I look it up, and it wasn't. Like, there were like tree cutters, like deep sea fishermen.
Yeah, I saw that.
Hold on, wait. Time out. Like, I don't know of any other job in the United States except for the military where people are actively trying to kill you because of your profession. I don't.
Exactly. And somebody told me that a long time ago too, and I did the same thing. I looked it up, and I saw like, tree cutters,
forklift operator. Like, I'm like, oh man, like this. Okay.
Yeah. And not to downplay what they're doing, but those are usually like you said, it's when somebody dies in one of those professions, it's because an accident occurred. Just some crazy, bizarre accident usually occers. It wasn't like that tree was like, "Oh, I got him today." Oh yeah, as soon as he cut me down, as soon as he cut me, I'm falling right on him. Hey, today it's about to go down.
I'm taking his buddies with him.
Everybody going down.
It ain't like that. I think that's something that a lot of people don't take into consideration. Like, I have friends who think that I'm paranoid, right? Like, well, why are you always sitting in this seat at the restaurant? Or why are you always like scanning? It's just like, man, you don't know. Like, people know who I am, not only because I'm a police officer, but because of what I do on social media. So somebody might see me, feel some type of way about me being a police officer, and them rounds might start flying, man. Like, I would rather be prepared than not prepared.
And
Like, oh,
what's
no,
funny, man, is and it's been brought up many times that because you and I are doing the work that we're doing, we're putting ourselves out there, putting our families out there. And, because of my trust in God and my faith in God, I believe that everything will be okay. But,
100%.
but they're always in the back of your mind. Like we already do a dangerous job as it is. And we're stepping out there to change things. And so that requires us putting ourselves out there. So yeah, man, like I'm the same way. I go to a restaurant, like, hey dog, I'm gonna need to sit in that corner over there, bro. Hey, I'm gonna need that spot. I'm gonna need you to come up off that spot.
Yeah, don't put me by the entrance.
Are you holding the gun? Are you holding the gun? No, I ain't got no gun. All right, I'm gonna need that spot up off you.
I'm gonna need that. 100%. But it just goes to show you like how crazy our job is, and that's something else that a lot of people would never think about. When they think about becoming a police officer, or the effects that it would have you outside of the job, or the effects that would. How it would affect you outside of the job, right? Like they just think like, oh, you carry a gun, you drive fast, but there's a lot more that goes into that than just carrying a gun and driving fast.
So much more. So again, our prayers are with Officer Corona, Officer Payne, Sergeant Carter, the three others that were killed. Right now, currently as it stands, I was looking at Officer Memorial page. There's been 6 deaths. All line of duty deaths by police officer or a police officer since the start of the new year. 3 were by gunfire and 3 were auto related. So I don't know what's the date today?
Today is the 13th. So that's one
every other day. We're averaging one every other day where a police officer is getting killed in the line of duty. And I was riding around the other day and I was just thinking like, man, I could go to work tomorrow and something crazy happen, and it just baffles me. And anybody, I don't care, even if you're not a police officer, if you are, whatever it is, we can all die, just driving on the freeway. I get that. But like you said earlier, man, just doing this job, going to work and not knowing what kind of car you're going to. That's always the thing that kind of, is in the back of my mind. So,
yeah. And the crazy thing about it is we're placed in dangerous or high risk situations so often that they become normal to us. Like I want to say it was a week ago, I was running lights and sirens to this run, and it was a bad run. So I'm getting there, and I look over, my partner just eating a piece of pizza like it's a normal like. I'm like, I said something to him afterwards, like it's so crazy that we're placed in these situations almost every single day, and so often that they become normal to us, right?
Man, that's crazy. And, well, even think about going on a dead body call. Like,
right.
I've been on dead body call, and this sounds so morbid, and so I'm sorry for our listeners if this is too morbid for you, but we'll go on a dead body call, and it'd be really bad. And then as soon as we walk out, once we're done, like, hey, man, what we eating for lunch?
What's for dinner? Exactly.
What's for lunch? You know what I mean? And it sounds so bad. But it's true. You got to think, and we kind of discussed that, and that leads us right into our recap, because I wanted to recap, our time with Sean and Tam. But that kind of leads right into what we were talking about with Sean, is you get put in these situations so often that they just become your new normal.
Yes.
And when you drive around, or you're getting in a crazy, you're driving fast and don't even realize you're driving so fast, or you go to a dead body call and it's like, when you're there, and I think it's the body's natural way to kind of deal with trauma.
Yeah. I'll tell you one run that I will never get used to, though, is being stopped on the freeway. Like having a car pulled over to the freeway or being behind a vehicle that's broken down. That, to me, that is the most uncomfortable position to be in, because although some cars may slow down, some don't. And when a semi goes by you at 60 miles per hour.
Yeah, you're 100% correct on
that.
Man, I told my wife, I was like, have you ever been stopped on the freeway? And then she said she has once before, but when there's a difference between being stopped and being outside. It still feels crazy when you stopped on the freeway, but when you're walking on that freeway, it feels like Daytona 500. Like,
I have to share this story. It's pretty funny. So me and a couple of the Humanizing the Badge guys, we went to a trip. I forget where it was. I think it might have been in Texas. And we were Ubering around the town. And we're in this Uber. So just 3 police officers and this Uber driver.
Yeah.
We're in the middle lane of the freeway. We're driving. All of a sudden, the car breaks down. and it's like slowing down. She puts her flashers on, and we're like, okay, just go ahead and just get over to the right here. And she's like, no, I'll stop here. And we're like, no, like just
Nah.
get over to the right, like as far as you can, and stops the car in the middle of the freeway. Listen, I don't yell at people often, but I was screaming at this woman like, "Hey, you better get this car to the right. All right,
You better Uber this car over to the right."
Hey, it was terrifying.
You better
You
get
had
to
three police
Ubering.
officers screaming at this woman.
You better get to Ubering. You better Uber this thing
And
over
then
to the
she
right.
charged us.
What?
She charged us for the ride. Yeah. All right,
Oh,
don't get me
see.
started.
Hey,
Uber,
and that's
if you
foul.
listening, I need my
Hey,
money back.
fair or foul? Should she have kept moving to the right, or should she have stayed right where she's at?
Foul. All caps. Foul.
Oh man, yeah, that freeway, man, is no joke. So I get my shout out goes to CHP, that California Highway Patrol. That's all they do is work that freeway. Those dudes are masters at their craft. Because I know anytime I gotta pull some over out on the freeway, I usually tell them to exit the freeway because I'm not trying to do my business out here on this freeway. So
My department luckily has its own freeway patrol, so we call them up like, hey, come take care of this.
Yeah, seriously. So back to the desensitization of, I don't know, am I saying that right word? I'm not saying that word right. It's probably my energy drink. Yeah. Hey, that's why I became a police officer, y'all, because I wasn't no English major. Just so we take care of that right now. Just so we take care of that.
They know what you're trying to say.
Because I know somebody on here is gonna be like, "Oh my goodness, he can't even speak right." Yeah, that's why I became a cop, y'all. Who are you talking to? So, but yeah, we do get desensitized with some things, and that is it's a normal thing of the job. But I think by doing podcasts like this, by doing, presentations to kids, speaking to the community, doing what things like AJ's doing, that's what kind of brings us back down to the reality of the things that we deal with. And so to all of our police officers that are listening to this podcast or watching it, if you don't have something in place right now that's kind of helps bring you back to reality, find that thing, find it. Don't get so caught up in this job that you become this job. We talked about that with Sean and allowing this job to become your identity. Go find something out there that can help bring you back to reality, because you need that. Because at some point you're gonna hit a breaking point. You're gonna become so desensitized that you start looking at the glass half empty as opposed to half full. When we take that oath and we raise that hand, it seems it's so weird. Everybody in that room, everybody in that academy class, they're raising their hands and all their glasses are half full. Every single one of them, or their glasses are half full. I'd be curious to see it, or see what the study is, that once all of them make it to retire, if they make it to retire, because the statistics are crazy that most police officers don't even make it to a retirement. Yeah. But I would be curious to see how many of their glasses are half empty by the time they retire.
Yeah, I mean, I would say 5 years. Within 5 years, how do a majority of officers look at things? And you couldn't be more right. Whether it's church, your religious life, the gym, you definitely have to find something. I get it. Most of us are A-type personalities. We don't let a lot of things bother us, or we pretend that a lot of things don't bother us. But the human body can only be exposed to so many things before it breaks. And you also just don't want to be that person that has the negative outlook on things, but you also don't want to be the person having mental breakdowns and panic attacks and things like that. So if you could help things, or if you could find something to help prevent that, jump on it. Go to the gym, find a punching bag.
So for our non-police officers out there, I want to tell you guys the process of how a police officer's glass goes from being half full to half empty. So when you take that oath on graduation day at the academy, like I said, your glass is half full. You're looking at things, everything's so positive. You got into this profession to change lives, everything. You start going on patrol, you start doing your job, and then let's just say, you go to a call where, you're getting in an argument with somebody on the side of the road. They're yelling at you. They're calling you out of name, calling you the N-word. Then you start then you lose some of the water in your glass. So then that goes out. So then you drive back to your department, and then, you're like, hey man, I just got into it with this person. He's calling me all these names. That we find out later that person files a complaint on you. So now your supervisors are overseeing you, and they're like, hey, what happened on this? And then now your supervisors may give you a write-up. So then you lose a little bit more of that water. And then, a couple years go by. Now it's time for promotion. You know, you've been doing everything you've been told to do. You've been doing it really, really well. You're, you know, so you sign up, you take the test, and then you get passed over like 3 or 4 times, and then you lose a little bit more of that water in that glass. And then, you know, the department changes again. You know, they get new things. There's new policies. You know, there may be something that you don't agree with, and then you lose a little bit more of that water. And that process just keeps going and going and going and going and going. And so if you're losing all this water in your cup, but you don't have any water coming back into your cup to refill it, then that's where you start getting down that road like we talked about last time of the mental health. And mind you, everything that I just mentioned, that's not even including the external life, the external part, you know, the dramas with your family, the marriage, the kids, the finances. We're just talking about from a career standpoint. So that's how, you know, officers' glasses start to deplete. And so I truly believe the work that you and I are doing is not only doing something for the community, but I think it's doing something for officers, because it's giving them a purpose to remind them of why they took this job and why they took the oath to do this job in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good point. And to the community members out there listening, or the civilians, should I say, this is also your opportunity to help out, because whether you know this or not, or believe it or not, a majority of police officers out there took this job for the right reasons and are doing the right things. So if you have the opportunity to encourage or motivate or just say something nice to a police officer, you never know what he or she might have just seen, or what run they might have just left. Take that time, thank them, you know, give them a hug. And I'll tell you what, if you take a picture with them or record a video, send it to me on Snapchat or Instagram or whatever, and I'll post it and show you some love. And, you know, to me, that's the least you could do. And, you know, I know when I'm off duty and I see a police officer, I'm always sure to give them a head nod or shake their hand and just thank them for what they're doing, because you don't know, right? You don't know the run that they just left, or what they're going through, or what weight they're carrying on their back. So just spread a little positivity.
Perfect. And then also we talked about Sean, and Sean, again, you brought some good insight to the profession and everything you're doing. I think, AJ, I think we need to take a field trip, and Savage over there, but I think we need to take a field trip to go watch a live PD recording. So Sean, we coming to see you live and in person.
Oh yeah.
You know, I'm down for that. Matter of fact, put me in the car. I want to go in the car.
Absolutely, that'd be fun. Hey, I'm sure we could find some things to get into.
I also want to thank Tam. Tam was on the episode before Sean, and I think that was the episode that was called Civil Rights and Shooting the Breeze or something like that. Yeah. Tam, thank you, man, because you actually brought some good insight from a different perspective for us, and for our listeners and all of our fans. I don't know if you kind of caught what we did with the last two special guests we had on, but what we essentially did and how we game planned it was we want 2 different people from 2 different perspectives. We had Tam that brought their perspective from the civilians that, you know, shed some light on how they feel when they're, you know, contacted by police, or why they feel this negative way towards police. And Tam, the reason I respect you the most, and I think I brought this up on the last podcast, or that podcast that we did, was the fact that Tam didn't mind having an opening, or didn't mind being open to hearing what we had to say as police officers. So thanks for that, Tam. What were your thoughts from that episode, AJ?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, just the fact that Tam had the courage to join the podcast and share his opinions and thoughts on police officers and what they could do to just help bridge that gap amazed me beyond belief. But the intellect he brought and the knowledge that he brought blew me away. He brought up a lot of good points that I feel like a lot of police officers needed to hear, and hopefully that message was conveyed clearly enough for them, and it reached them. And I think it was great. What I think was the most powerful is that what we did with the last 2 podcasts has shown people that you could have a conversation, you could have a dialogue, a genuine dialogue with 2 people on opposite ends of the spectrum and still get along and still respect each other's opinions. And you just learn from each other. You know, I learned just as much from Tam as I did from Sean, and vice versa. And it's just, I think it was awesome.
If we could take that simple concept that you just mentioned and apply that to life, I think our country, I think our world would be in so much of a different place. I think, unfortunately, what we do as human beings just naturally is we start defending our side as opposed to listening to the other side.
Yeah, yeah,
And we have a
absolutely.
lot of fans on Instagram and viewers of this podcast, which I appreciate and support every single one of you guys, and thank you for doing that. But sometimes they get so caught up in wanting the defense of defending police work that
Yeah,
they negate the fact that, hey, there's some real hurt going on by civilians, you know what I mean, or
yeah,
by officers to civilians.
absolutely.
And so we can't get so caught up in this defense mechanism, like, oh, all they do is dog us out, all they do is dog us out. Like, we have to be able to hear them. And the same thing for civilians, you know what I mean? Like, as a civilian, you can't get so caught up in saying, like, oh, all these police officers are just wrong, you know, they pulled me over because I'm you know, I'm black or white or Asian, whatever it is. Like, you can't get
Yeah,
so caught up in just thinking that every situation is the same, because it's not. So
yep,
if we can just take those simple concepts and just see both sides, like Tam and Sean were able to do, we'll be so much better off. And I think that's why these conversations need to happen. Now, this was actually cool. So I noticed this last night, and maybe you noticed this, but there's so many police profiles out there on social media where all they do is highlight positive police stuff, or the highlight, good things, which is cool. Like, I'm not knocking that at all. But for the longest, I actually don't even think I had ever seen one of those profiles ever post something negative that happened to police. So
yeah,
we posted one a few weeks ago when the officers had beat up that guy in the jail, and there was actually another one that I saw last
yeah,
night. And we actually got some really good feedback from a lot of our viewers that basically said, thank you for
yep,
acknowledging the wrong that has gone on. I actually just posted another one about the officer that shot the guy in the back a few years ago. He tried to appeal his sentence, which his sentence was 20 years, which, you asked me, I think it probably should have been longer than that. But hey, at least he got
absolutely.
20 years, and that's 20 years that he will not be on the street. But anyways, irregardless of my opinion on that, the cool thing is that our listeners and viewers were like, man, thank you for doing that. So I was at, just chilling last night with the wifey, and I was on Instagram, and I was on like the whole newsfeed page, and I
Yeah,
saw there was a police page out there who's reposted some of our stuff before, but they have like 200 some odd followers, and they posted a video of these deputies punching this guy in the face, and essentially said, hey, look, I don't know the whole background of this, but these police officers were wrong for doing that, or these deputies, whatever they were wrong for doing that. And
right.
that, at that moment, it was almost like an epiphany. It was like, hey, I think what we're doing is starting to kind of reach out there. It's starting to get out there. People are starting to recognize that, yeah, we could post the positive stuff all we want, but at some point we have to right our wrongs, and we have to acknowledge our wrongs. And so I
Yeah,
thought that was so cool to see, man. I was like, man, it wasn't cool to see the video, obviously, because the video was terrible. But the mere fact that there's other police officers out there that are now starting to acknowledge that there's wrong within our profession, and that we need to figure out ways to change it.
absolutely, absolutely. We're making progress. You got to get both sides out there. If you just get the positive your side out there, somebody will definitely show the negative on your side. So if you
Exactly.
beat them to the punch, then they ain't got nothing, right?
Exactly. So that leads us into our topic today, guys. I know we did went a little long on the recap. So one of the things that we get hit up on our social media about so much, I mean, I'm getting hit up on it daily, is and I guess it's because a lot of our viewers or listeners are people that want to become police officers. So I'm always getting hit up on advice for going into the police academy, advice for getting hired, advice for the background process. So I know we talked about the academy a few weeks back, and if you haven't listened to that episode, go check it out. But today I wanted to specifically talk about the hiring process, and I think this is an important topic because right now in law enforcement, I don't want to say we're struggling with hiring, but we're struggling with hiring. And that's because up till this day, we've had a pretty successful economy. So a lot of people are gravitating towards private sector jobs where that they may pay a little bit more. They may not want to take some of the risk. Law enforcement does not struggle to hire people when we're in a down economy because nobody else is hiring, and so they'll go into law enforcement where they can still get decent wages, you know what I mean, and do a pretty fun job. So when a down economy is here, we're not struggling. But since the economy's been doing so well, with the exception of the last few months, we've been struggling to hire, and so there's a lot that goes into the hiring process, and people have questions about it. So AJ, tell me a little bit about the hiring process from the very beginning that people should be aware of and things that they should do in order to just be a player, be a factor in getting hired.
First and foremost, you have to have patience. Our hiring process from the time you submit your application to the time you get an offer is a minimum of a year. Takes a minimum of a year. And things that you should know, every department has their own list of qualifications. So before you submit that application, I would hop on whatever division or whatever department's website you want to apply for and check out their qualifications to apply. You have to be 21. Some departments require a college education, some don't. The one I work for does not, thankfully. We have to finish a 6-month academy, then we have to pass a state test. There's a whole list of requirements.
And so on that, so let me just go step by step. And granted, my steps may be a little bit off of AJ's steps just because we're in different places. But for the most part, they're fairly similar. So the way I see the background process that goes out here is the first step is obviously your application process. When you submit your application, make sure your application, one, is neat. Two, you check for spelling, check for, grammar. Just check it, or have somebody else check it, because you got to realize when we get applications across our desk, that's a telltale sign of how serious are you about trying to get a job in law enforcement.
We have no coffee stains on it.
Yeah, no coffee stains. Wipe the Cheeto stains off of it. Eat the Cheetos away from the application.
And make sure every box has something in it.
Yes, even if it's not applicable to you, either write NA on it. But at least it makes it look like you addressed every single box. So that's the first step. So then after you do that application, then you move forward. For us, you move forward to doing a physical agility. Now, guys and gals, please don't show up to the physical agility straight off the couch. Don't show up don't be chilling, watching Live PD and Cops and Bad Boys 3 and everything for the last 6 months and be like, you know what, I think I want to become a police officer now. I'm gonna go ahead and put my application in and then roll into this physical agility like you're gonna just have flying colors. I tell you, I've proctored many of these exams before, and I'm telling you, there's people that just show up like they just literally just rolled off the couch, like out of shape, don't even, not dressed to impress, show up ready to go. Like, this is your time to show somebody like, hey, look, I can do this. I'm ready for this. Would you agree with that, AJ?
Oh, yeah. You got to leave it all there. Listen, this is your opportunity to prove yourself to the recruiters, the supervisors, the officers who are going to oversee you, that you have what it takes. You go there and you leave it all there. Now, we have 2 different PT tests you have to pass. You have to pass an initial one, which isn't so bad. That gets you into the academy. They PT the mess out of you in the academy, train you physically and whatnot. And then you have to pass the state one, which is a little harder. So start running. Your best bet, if you're thinking about applying, start running right now. Because I'm not a runner, and we ran, I think, up to 5 miles in the academy. And listen, I don't like driving 5 miles, let alone running.
Hey, same here. And so don't try to trick yourself into thinking like, I can get through this. I've seen people show up, and let's just say, like, for example, one of the tests that we have to do, you have to do a mile and a half under 15 minutes.
Yep.
So let's just say you come in at 14:50 and you're like, oh, cool, I passed it. Do you want to pass, or do you want to just blow it out the water?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, don't start selling don't just settle for bare minimum. Like, that's not what we're looking for. We're not looking to hire the person that just wants to do status average, because if that's your mentality now, what's going to happen when we do hire you and granted, let's just say miraculously you get through the academy, you're still going to have that bare minimum mentality, and it's going to make you just do the bare minimum work. And so
absolutely,
bare minimum has gotten police officers in trouble.
Yeah, or seriously hurt.
Exactly.
That's something you have to take into consideration. Like, everything in the academy happens for a reason. You said it last, I think, a couple of podcasts ago. Like, everything that happens in that academy is for a reason. So if you have to run, if you're running every single day, it's because you might have to chase a bad guy with a gun, or you might have to catch somebody who's going to do something real bad before they get to the area they're going to do something real bad. Like, listen, take it serious. Like, this is all for a reason.
Exactly. So the next step after that, if you do your physical agility, then we're going to invite you back for an oral interview. And that's when you're going to interview with 3 people from the department, maybe somebody from human resources. The best thing I could tell you, do your research on the department. Do your research on the department. Don't show up to the interview and then they ask you a question like, okay, so who's the chief of police?
Yeah. How much do we make? Oh, $87,300 a year. Like, oh, but you know how much we make, but you know the chief of police.
Exactly.
Something's wrong there.
Exactly. So do your research. Know the values of that police department. Every police department is different. So make sure you know what you're getting into. The other big thing that I always tell people is don't apply for 100 different agencies, because that to me that just looks like you just trying to get a job. You know what I mean? This is a career. This is a long career. It's an important career. So pick about 3 to 4 at the time and do your research on them. After you do that, you're going to do a polygraph. When you do the polygraph exam, just tell the truth. Simple as that. Is tell the truth. If they ask you about a piece of bubble gum that you mentioned you stole in high school, or if they ask, have you stole something, and you say, oh man, I stole something when I was in high school, then say, yeah, I stole something. Yes. You know what I mean? Yep. When you start lying, and again, because we got to translate all this stuff to when you're actually on the job. So if you lied here, what will you do when you actually become a part of the profession?
Yep.
After that, then we're going to move you forward to the background. Now, the background is what gets people disqualified the most. And oftentimes it's because people didn't tell the full truth on something.
Yep.
Your background investigators will find everything, guys.
Oh my goodness. Hey, they're showing up and talking to your neighbors at your old house. Like, that's how detailed these background investigators are. So transparency is key. Once again, transparency is key.
Exactly.
We don't want an officer we can't trust who's going to be lying, doing shady stuff on the streets, making us look bad, destroying the work that we're doing. Transparency is key.
Exactly. And I don't want you guys to get it twisted. Like, don't think that police officer or police agencies are just looking to hire perfect people. So don't worry,
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, we actually, exactly, we actually like people that got a little bit of baggage to them, because it shows us, we get to see how you responded from doing whatever you did when you're younger. Now, we're not about to hire somebody, and if there's somebody out there listening like this, I'm sorry to crush your dreams, but we're not about to hire somebody that was arrested for, you know, attempt 187, attempt murder, or, you know, arrested for, you know, domestic violence. We're not about to hire. So I'm sorry if I just crushed your dreams right now, but it is what it is. But if it's something like some petty stuff that you did when you were a juvenile, even some agencies have gone as far as hiring people, like, you know, that admitted, you know, you've driven while under the influence of alcohol. Now, what we will not do is, if you have a habit of doing that, we'll figure out you have a habit. We're not going to hire you. But if this is something you did when you were younger and you learned from it, and it's been about 7-8 years and you haven't did it, you know, just disclose it. You never know what they're looking for. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is your social media, guys. Social media is disqualifying people at unbelievable rates right now. I understand you may have an opinion about something, or you may feel one way or the other, but guys and gals, check your social media. Delete it. Yeah, if this is something you want to do, until you get hired, delete it, because you can't go, and you guys will notice, if you guys haven't noticed what I'm doing yet, just make sure that you start deleting, or not deleting, but make sure you don't get involved in conversations that are going to go back and forth with people over some serious issues. That's one thing I think that differs us from other people, is a lot of times people will go back and forth and argue with people, but I try not to do that, just because what my content is out there, people know my heart, but I'm not going to go back and forth, because there's just some people's hearts and minds that we're not going to change.
Yeah, absolutely. I deleted my Facebook and Instagram when I first applied, because I had some embarrassing pictures I did not want the department to have. So yeah, I had to get rid of that.
I already told you guys about my modeling stories and how that came up to me. If you guys want to hear about if you guys want to learn a lesson about social media, go listen to episode, I think it's like 3 or 4, Academy Stories or Academy Diaries, and you guys will hear about how that can get you caught up. So,
or just check out my ugly sweater.
Oh yeah, you could do that too. And then so after that, guys, then what you want to do is you're going to move forward to your psychological exam. There's not much really advice I can give you on that one. They just going to try to determine whether or not you're crazy or not. They're going to ask you questions like, do you love your mom? Do you love your dad?
Yeah. You might find out something about yourself. I mean, Hey.
Exactly. So I can't really do much to help you out with that one. Then you're going to do a medical exam. The medical exam is just to make sure that if we hire you, that you're not going to pass out day one of the job, and because you're eating a donut. So can't really do much. Oh, actually, no. What I can tell you is get in shape. And if you get in shape, if you can get in shape for that PAT exam, then you should be fine for the medical exam. And then you'll do your chief's interview. And again, just be honest, just share your heart. So, what I'm going to do, I think this is a good transition. You guys ready to go live? You ready to go live, AJ?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So we're going to go live real quick. I know some people have been waiting, and I think, so hold on one second.
Throw my phone on do not disturb here.
I know. Is there something we should be talking about? Because since we are recording this live, let me see.
No, that's fine. So there is one more piece of advice I have for individuals thinking about applying, going through the process, and getting on. Before you start the academy, listen, know what a gig line is, know how to crease your uniforms, where to crease them, and know your 10 codes. Know what codes to use when you're on the radio.
Exactly. So, hey, we're live now, AJ, so jump on and invite yourself. So for all of our audience out there, all of our people on Instagram, we are finally live. Oh yeah, you got me all in the background over there. So we are live. Actually, we're actually filming our episode of the podcast to all of our Instagram followers out there. So thanks again, guys, for joining us. We are what episode is this, Billy? Do you know what episode this is? 8. Oh, we're episode 8 right now. So we are recording episode 8. And you got me all in the background.
I know. Again. All right, there we go. I got it this time. I got it. I think.
So thanks to all of our viewers out there. We appreciate you guys joining us. Today I'm actually live right now on the podcast with AJ, Mr. Oh No, It's a Popo, doing our recording. We promised you guys that we were going to come out to you guys and do a recording about the hiring process and background process. So in order to find out some steps about the hiring process and background process, you guys are going to have to listen to the full episode of the podcast. But right now we wanted to come to you guys and we wanted to give you guys the opportunity to ask us any questions you guys would have about the hiring process if you guys are trying to get hired. So somebody who is that? I'm actually just gonna hold my phone. Hey, as a matter of fact, I see one of my TAC officers from when I was in the academy on here. My boy Manu. I see you, Manu. Virginia Tech football loves y'all. Oh, thanks, VT. Oh, we got VTech in the house. So
everyone that's tuned in already, you guys are echoing yours?
Yeah, I'm gonna turn it down. I'm turning it down all the way down right now.
Hey, you gotta turn them all the way down. All right, we're figuring this out. Bear with us. All right, we good?
Yeah, we good.
All right. So for anyone that's tuned in right now, we are recording the It's Needed podcast live on Instagram. This is your opportunity to send us any question you may have about the hire on your brain that you want us to answer. Go ahead, send those questions, and we'll do our best to answer them.
So what is a good patrol bag? I graduate academy in a month. You can never go wrong with 511. I have a 511 bag. They're pretty sturdy, so that's a pretty easy one.
Yeah, I use a backpack. I have like a tactical backpack. I throw everything in there. Throw it around your shoulders. You'll be good to go. Some academies may not allow that if you're in the academy, or I didn't see that question. But yeah, I use a backpack. I love it. Throw that thing around. I really don't care about it.
So we have somebody said, I just got background checked for my paramedic course. I wonder if it's the same. I know not for our state police, but just curious. I can't really speak to paramedics just because I've never become a paramedic before. I would imagine it's very similar to the process that we go through as a police officer. And so only thing I can say is just make sure you're forthcoming with all your information. Anything on that, AJ?
No, yeah, you hit that one right on the head. My school, Edison, like your Jordans, his Jordans are fake.
Hey, who said that? Who said that?
Don't talk about his Jordans because they are not authentic.
Hey, shout out to whoever said I like your Jordans. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you.
Here's a good one. How many years do you have on the job? I'll let Ryan answer that one.
So for me, I actually have 5 years on the job. And it's funny because a lot of times, people think I've been in this job for years and I haven't. I'm only 5 years in. But that for those of you that are out there that want to become police officers or deputies or troopers, whatever it may be, just know that you don't have to be in this job for 10, 15, 20 years to actually go out and make some change. As soon as you guys get out of the academy and start hitting the streets or hitting the jails or whatever, you guys can start affecting change right away. Go ahead,
Yeah,
AJ.
yeah, absolutely. So I have I'm going on my sixth or seventh. I'm going on my seventh year collectively. So I worked for a department 2 years prior to working for the current division of police that I work for, and I'm going on my seventh year altogether. So we're getting up there.
So, thought on Explorer program. So, Chris, great question, Chris. Explorer programs are great. I actually was an Explorer advisor at my department. The only thing about an Explorer program is that sometimes you will not have time to do extracurricular activities at your school. So, if you do extracurricular activities at school, like if you're on a football team, basketball team, whatever, I think that's all stuff that's good for you because as a police officer, you're gonna have to be on a team one day. But let's say you're not doing anything that's extracurricular at your school, then yeah, the Explorer program is a great program for you, and it teaches you a lot about the job. What about you, AJ?
Yeah, I actually love the Explorer program for a lot of different reasons. The first reason is it teaches you discipline, which is a huge part of being a police officer. At least the division that I work for, we're very military type. So you have to have a lot of discipline. Also, ours teaches you the 10 codes, how to do like traffic stops, like the very basics of policing. So I think it's a phenomenal step if you're looking to get into law enforcement, but also don't forget about your personal life. Like you don't want law enforcement to consume your life, especially at such a young age. Like you want to build those relationships with people who aren't going to go into law enforcement because those may be the ones that last the longest.
Perfect. Hey, AJ, I want you to answer this question because Cody actually reached out to me. And I forgot to tell you. My bad, Cody. I forgot to ask him, but it says, AJ, this question will relate more to you as I'm located about half an hour south of you. Are there any grants or opportunities that they will help assist me in getting through the academy?
I'm not sure about grants. I'll give you my advice. You have to have patience when applying. I went through the process for a year and got declined. They didn't want me. I went back and applied again. A whole other year went by, and they finally accepted me. So just make sure you have all of your ducks in a row before applying, and just have patience. And if this is the job you want, apply until you're squared away or until you meet the qualifications to get hired.
Another question. I hope that answered your question, Cody. Another question. What is a sure thing that will help that will fill your background? I would say if you if you have any felonies in your background, that's a sure thing. If you've ever been arrested for murder or homicide or something like that, you probably wouldn't be out to apply. So
you can't have bodies signing up to be a police officer. It ain't gonna turn out too
well. What should you focus on during FTO program? Take it all in. This is a good question. So take everything that you learn in. Don't show up there like you just conquered the world, like you just about to take over and about to be chief tomorrow. And one thing I want to highlight is there is a difference between being confident and cocky.
Tell them again.
There's a difference between being confident and cocky. Now, unfortunately, when I had got hired, some people felt that I was cocky, but I wasn't. And a lot of that was because I just came from playing college football. I played college football my whole life, and I was it just naturally, I just had a certain level of confidence, and so certain people would take that as cockiness. So my best advice would be go into the profession, go into the FTO program as being as humble as you can be, ask questions, be willing to learn, and don't think you know it all. I still don't know. I don't know. Even being on 5 years, there's still so much more that I can learn. So just go in with a willing ear to learn and listen. What about you?
Yeah, that's it. Just soak up all the knowledge you can. The division that I work for, you have 4 different phases. So you ride with 4 different coaches. Soak up everything you can from these coaches. When you get out on your own, take what you like from each coach and apply it to who you want to be as a police officer. I got disqualified a year ago, but I'm looking to reapply because I am back on track and have recently achieved my associate's degree. Is it too early to apply? It is not too early to apply. Where I am at, I think you have to have about 6 months or a year before you reapply in Central Ohio. What about you, Ryan?
I'm not even gonna lie, Ryan. You hear the question? I was over here looking at other ones. Sorry, y'all.
So somebody applied for their police agency a year ago.
Okay.
They got their life back on track, and they're looking at reapplying. Is it too soon?
And it was a year ago.
It was a year ago.
You just, that's a hard one because every department is looking for something different. Some departments are looking to hire somebody right now. Some are later. You have departments that have 2,000 some odd employees who they can actually take a chance on somebody who is just disqualified, as opposed to a smaller department that only has about 50 people. So, just do your research. Try to find somebody that works at that department. The best thing you could do is get an inside connection onto what they're looking for, and that will actually kind of steer you in the right direction.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty good question. It's do police officers actually seek for help, or what do actually? Hold on, let me read this. Basically, do officers seek help when undergoing through a stressful or traumatic situation, such as counseling or therapy? So where I work, we actually have a core group of officers, and we're part of the peer assistance team. And what we do is we're bound by confidentiality, meaning if you call me and you say, hey, I want to speak to you peer to peer, I cannot divulge any of that information you tell me unless you say like, hey, I'm about to go kill somebody or something crazy like that, right? But what that does is it creates like a very open dialogue to where I'm able to help you out with situations that you may be going through, or maybe able to put you in contact with people who can help you out. Ryan, you got something on that?
No, you hit the nails on the head. I can't speak today for some reason. Hey Gates, yeah, I see your comment, bro. Yeah, just go ahead and join, bro. Quit playing and just go ahead and join.
Princess, you're my favorite cop. Which one, Ryan or me?
Hey, you better be careful on how you answer this next question now.
Let him know.
Let him know. It better be Ryan. I met at the police academy in August after college and played ball at VTech. Oh, shout out to VTech. I'm actually from Columbus, Ohio. Okay, AJ. What is the reality of the physical testing academy? Bro, if you play football at Virginia Tech, you're going to have no problem with the physical agility. Cuz and this is coming, I play college football as well. And so the way you train and in college football, you're going to blow it out of the water. So I think what you should do is obviously go there. Like I said earlier, be humble when you take your approach to going there. People are already going to be expecting a lot of you, but go there and blow it out of the water. Let's take a couple more.
We need some good questions.
I have a question. Who do you guys think could dance better, me or AJ?
What? Hold up. Oh,
hey, who do y'all think got better dance moves, me or AJ?
Look, already, Billy, the Savage strikes.
Oh, Savage. So Savage, just so y'all can see Billy. So this is behind the scenes over there.
You got him.
Oh, AJ. Oh, y'all playing me right now. Okay.
Yep,
I know what I'm gonna have to do. I know what I'm gonna have to do.
So we got a police officer in Australia showing some love. Thank you so much. Keep tuning in. We appreciate everything you're doing over there. Everybody saying AJ.
Military before law enforcement, pro or con? It just depends. If that's if military is something you want to do because you want to do it, then do it. I recommend you do it. But if you're just doing military just to go to law enforcement, I wouldn't say that's the right reason to do it. And man, stop flexing, bro. Don't make me put on no music, bro.
It says, do you have any insight on the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department? I heard they're hiring like crazy.
They are, and if you listen to the rest of this episode, you'll be able to get a lot of the insight that I gave earlier. So shout out to you. I know some people at LA County Sheriff's Department. Just DM me if you have any more questions about the specifically Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department.
Yeah,
let's take two more. Go ahead.
Yeah, what I was going to say is we'll take two more questions. Ryan, as long as you're good with this, how about we leave our live listeners and people of the podcast just with like final thoughts, just in general.
Okay.
How you feel about that?
I'm good with that. So let's take two more questions.
Let's make it count. You can go ahead and pick one, Ryan, and I'll pick another one.
Okay. How often should you check in on the hiring process? The last department lost my paperwork.
Oh.
So I know, and AJ brings this up earlier on this podcast again, so you're gonna have to listen to the full episode. But it's kind of like when you're dating somebody or you don't want to date nobody, you go on a date, and and the girl tells you, "Hey, don't call me, I'll call you." Kind of that same mentality. I know you want to call this person. I know in the back of your mind you're like, "Oh, please, please call me back." The department is doing so much, and they're trying to hire so many different people, but when you start calling them and blowing them up, it's actually going to turn them off more to you than it is going to help you out. So maybe one or two calls if you have a feeling they lost your paper, but they're doing a lot. So it's kind of that, don't call them, let them call you mentality. I hate to say it, and I've been there before, and my wife will tell you every day I'm looking by the phone, like it's some ring, I'm jumping over the couch to grab that phone and see if it's him. So, but it is what it is. So that's kind of the mentality you have to have.
Yeah, so we have advice for a 21-year-old entering law enforcement academy next month. You got to tune into the podcast. We talked about it. Citizens Police Academy. That'll be the one I'll take. I think citizen police academies are great. It's a great opportunity to learn a lot. Why we do what we do, why we do certain things, why we're policing. The only issue with citizen police academies are a majority of the time, it's people who are already supporters of law enforcement who go through these things. So if there was a way to bring maybe people who don't understand the police officer's mindset or people who don't support law enforcement into these things, I think they'd be a lot more powerful. So, Ryan, how about you give us some final thoughts and words of encouragement for our
So for all
live
of our
viewers of our podcast?
So for all of our listeners and live viewers of the podcast right now, I just encourage you, especially if you're trying to go into this profession, just keep at it. Pray about it. If you have a certain level of faith, I always tell people, if it's meant to be, it's gonna be. If it's not, it's not. And I think sometimes people try to force things too much. And if you have to force it, it may not be the right thing. And so there has to be a level of understanding when is it time to say, okay, this isn't for me, and when is it time to continue to push forward. You know, sometimes people will just keep applying and applying and applying and applying and applying, and nothing's happening. And so that may mean it's not meant to be. And you know what? Every single person in life has a purpose to life. Every single person in life has a purpose to life. And so I know in your mind, you may think your purpose in life is to affect change and do what you're doing through law enforcement, but it may not be that. It may be doing something completely different. So if it is your path and you think that this is truly what you're called to do, then, you know, you have find people that are around you to help you out. But at the same time, just make sure you try to find what your purpose to life is first before you just say, hey, I want to become a police officer because it seems cool. So that's my thoughts on that.
No, that's good. So mine would be, listen, if you feel like you are meant to be a police officer and to work for a certain division of police, then maybe this may not be your time, but eventually it will be. And I say that to share the story. When I first applied for the current department that I work for, the process took a year. At the end of that year, I had a panel interview, and they decided they didn't like some things that were in my background packet, so they disqualified me. Fast forward 2 more years later, I'm already a police officer at a smaller department. I go back through the process, so I added an additional year onto that. One of the same officers is in that panel interview, and he asked me, he goes, if we didn't want you X amount of years ago, then what makes you think we want you now? And my response was, well, sir, with all due respect, if you don't want me now, I'll be back the next year, and I'll be back the next year. So a lot of the questions that we're getting on the IG Live, and I know a lot of questions we're going to get in the comment sections, is what's your advice? Be persistent and have patience. Be persistent and have patience. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. Don't be too squeaky, right? Because we don't want to be bugging the right people, but just be persistent. And if you're meant to be a police officer, then it'll happen. And if not, then you'll find your path in life.
Man, excellent words, AJ. And so what we're going to do is we're going to end the podcast on a fair or foul. Thank you guys for all the questions. We appreciate it. We'll do this a lot more. We actually had a lot of engagement on this. And before I go any further, this podcast is being brought to you guys by Breaking Barriers United. We really appreciate all of the help and all the support that you guys have been giving us. It's conversations like this that allow us to move forward. So thank you to all of our listeners. So fair or foul. So let me paint this picture, guys. And this is actually kind of a serious fair or foul, but it's also kind of funny. I'm gonna make it kind of funny. So last week I was doing a presentation. I do presentations all over the place. I do them in public schools, all over the place. So anyways, there's a part of my presentation where I talk about the likes and dislikes of police officers, or my likes that I have as a person, and then I share them with, and I compare them with the likes of the audience. And so as I'm doing my presentation, I just talk about shoes. I always talk about, some of the favorite foods I like. And then I get to a point where I talk about, hey, the only reason I'm able to do this job is because I have a faith in Jesus Christ. And that's what I'll leave it at that. Just leave it at that. I always say I'm able to do this job because I have a faith in Jesus Christ, and then just leave it there. So as I say that, I see somebody go talk to my partner who's in attendance, and I'm asking, and I just see him having a conversation. So after the presentation's over, I go up to him and I said, hey, what was that about? And so when I ask him, he's like, oh, that was actually the principal. And the principal was like, hey, I'm a Christian and all, but, I don't really know if I want him to say, that he has a faith in Jesus Christ. Can he leave that out? So my partner comes up to me, and or so my partner's like, okay, I'll let him know. So I finished the presentation. My partner comes up to me after, and then he tells me, hey, she had an issue with you bringing up, you had a faith in Jesus Christ. So I'm like, okay, it's not like I'm in here saying, all you heathens better repent of your sins. Where's the oil?
I rebuke you.
I rebuke you. I rebuke you, and I rebuke you, and come find your faith in Jesus Christ today.
You got students falling out.
I'm not hitting the kids in the forehead or nothing like that. I just said personally, I have a faith in Jesus Christ. It is what it is. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So I go talk to her, and so she's like, hey, I thought the presentation was good and all, but could you just leave the part out that you have a faith in Jesus Christ? I'm a Christian and all, but can you just leave it out? And I'm like, so I was like, ma'am, like, please forgive these next words that are about to come out of my mouth. I ain't trying to be disrespectful to you. I appreciate you letting me into your house, but if that's what you want me to do, then unfortunately I can't do the rest of the presentation. So she was like, okay, well, could you just say that, I respect that, everybody has their own personal beliefs, but this is your belief. I was like, that's totally fine. Cause again, I agree with that. Like everybody has their own personal beliefs. Everybody's entitled to their own belief, but that shouldn't stop me from talking about who I am, because that's what I'm doing. I'm telling my story. So is it fair or foul that this lady just try to shut me down, bro? And mind you, she let me push, and I was able to do the second presentation. But fair or foul, bro? She just kind of just kept it pushing. It wasn't in there like I was laying oil on kids and saying, "Come on, let's remove the stone from the wall."
Yeah. I'm gonna go fair on your part. I'm gonna go fair for you. You are absolutely in the right. Like, they bring you in for a reason, and that's to share who you are, right? You weren't in there saying, hey, close your eyes and repeat after me if you're feeling something right now, So, yeah, that's all her.
So here's the thing, though, too, and this is what, and I'm going to end the podcast on this note. The reason we created the It's Needed podcast and Breaking Barriers United is because we wanted to be transparent. And that means that we all can just have honest discussions and everything like that. But I think one thing that was disheartening for me this past week when I was at that school was when I got done doing that presentation, I had so many kids come up to me like, this was the best presentation I've ever been at. I want to actually now think about becoming a police officer. You've changed my mind. There was a third grader in there that actually asked me a question like, hey, what do you think about racism? So that tells me that third graders are actually picking up and understanding things about racism and things like that. But a lot of the teachers at this location, and I don't want to say a lot, but a few of the teachers at this location were more concerned that I was actually putting a vest on kids, allowing them to act like they're a police officer. They were more concerned that I said, hey, I have a personal faith in Jesus Christ, as opposed to saying, look, man, my kids are actually really being impacted. Some of these teachers can't impact their kids in a whole school year. And I was actually able to come in there and affect some change within 45 minutes. And so I think as a society, sometimes we get caught up in the wrong issues. We get caught up in this stuff that doesn't even really matter, as opposed to focusing on the things that truly do matter. And that's kind of what I took from that situation. You have any thoughts on that, AJ?
My thing is, I have friends who are Muslim. I have atheist friends. I have friends who believe in all sorts of different things. And I don't get offended based off of what they believe in. Like you said, it wasn't like you were trying to force your religion on them. All you were saying is, hey, I believe in Jesus Christ. Like, I'm a Christian. Okay.
Exactly. Cause like you, I the same thing, bro. I have people from all different religions. I have, there's just so many people from different places, and they're really good friends of mine, Mormons, Jehovah's Witness, whatever it may be. And I don't shut them down like, oh, stop right there. We can't be friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
and I get it. It's the separation of church and state. And I get that she's trying to, be politically correct and all that stuff. And I understand that. But I think that sometimes, they think that, especially when in this situation, they think that the kids aren't aware of the real issues that are going on when we're talking about racism and things like that in schools. And then they get too focused and fixated on the wrong thing. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Hey guys, it was a great time having this podcast. I think this live thing was actually really cool.
Yeah, we might have to keep this rolling after the podcast. Maybe give them like a behind the scenes look. That last comment is dope. Did you read that?
Let me see. Seeing a black police officer doing great things is so inspiring. That's why I want to be one. I remember being that kid saying I can be black. And so man, my man Drew James Ford. Hey, you the man, my brother. You the man. Hey, shout out to you guys and all of our listeners and viewers today of this podcast and this live Instagram. It's because of you. It's because of you guys that help us keep going and give us a faith to keep going. just to know that we're actually really affecting change. So, hey, thanks guys. I can't wait to have another episode. I think we were going to be recording in another week and a half or 2 weeks. We're actually going to be having another special guest on the air. I think it's actually going to be a female police officer. So stand by. And actually, that female police officer, you guys will, if you guys don't know who she is now, you guys will probably know about her pretty soon. So, but anyways, anything else, AJ? Any last parting words, parting thoughts?
I think we nailed it. Hey, for everyone who's watching live, tune into the podcast. This was a good one.
Hey, go Rams, guys. Take care, guys. We'll have a nice day, and we will see you guys next week.